Ukraine may have just broken Russia's backbone. In a stunning escalation, Ukrainian forces have launched a deep strike that could cripple the very core of Russia's war machine. This wasn't just about making a statement, it was about targeting the spine of Putin's military operations. The impact, potentially devastating. Russia's entire ground strategy depends on what was just hit, and losing it could unravel months of military buildup. Here's what we know so far. On July 7th, Euromaidan Press provided an overview of Ukraine's devastating attack. It states that residents of both Krasnozavodsk and Sergiev Posad have reported loud and powerful explosions, all of which seem to be centered on a chemical plant in the former region. The strike is believed to have targeted several areas of the plant, with multiple impact points being recorded. Confirmation is already starting to stream in. The Exilanova Plus Telegram channel has released several interesting images it says provide geolocated evidence that Ukraine's drones successfully touched down on the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant. "We confirm the attack on the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant," its initial report said. The plant is included in the state list of enterprises of the defense industrial complex and supplies the Russian Ministry of Defense with various ammunition. In particular, night-sounding cartridges, signal cartridges, electric igniters for anti-tank guided missiles. Alongside that post are geolocated images showing the precise locations where Ukraine's drones struck. A second post dug deeper, revealing that one of Ukraine's main targets was a brand new workshop constructed at the chemical plant. Probably one of the damages occurred in one of the relatively new workshops of the plant, Exilanova Plus reported, again with geolocated images to prove their point. But you don't have to take a random Telegram channel's word for it, you can hear it from the horse's mouth. In the immediate aftermath of the attack, Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council head Andriy Kovalenko also took to Telegram to confirm the strike. In the Moscow region of the Russian Federation, the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant was attacked. It produces explosives, gunpowder, components for ammunition, and missile weapons, he said. Then he provided the reason why Ukraine targeted this specific plant. This is a link in the technological chain of supplying the Russian army with artillery shells, MLRS, and ballistic missiles. In other words, the plant was a key vertebra in the Russian ammunition spine. Putin needed the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant. It produced thermobaric warheads for Shahid drones, explosives, gunpowder, and a whole bunch of components his troops need for the ammunition they're using against Ukraine. Maybe that's why Russia is pretending none of this has happened. Russia's Ministry of Defense has provided no confirmation that the attack happened. Instead, it's done what it usually does, claim that Russia successfully repelled a Ukrainian drone strike. The ministry says that its air defenses shot down 91 drones, 8 of them over the Moscow Oblast, on July 7th, says Euromaidan Press. It also claims that Ukraine sent drones to several other oblasts, including Belgorod, where 20 drones were shot down, Kursk, which saw the destruction of 14 drones, and Lipetsk, where Russia claims to have taken out 8. A glorious defense by the Russians then, but that doesn't explain why Krasnozavodsk chemical plant is on fire, and it certainly doesn't explain why residents of Krasnozavodsk are sharing videos proving that Ukraine just hit the plant hard. Both the SHOT and Astra Telegram channels have shared plenty of these resident-shot videos, demonstrating that Russia is lying through its teeth. Several of the videos shared by SHOT show Ukraine's drones flying low with their telltale buzzing indicating that Russia isn't doing anything about them. There are no sounds of air defense systems rattling off shots toward the drones. However, there is footage of one of the drones striking its target. A massive black plume of smoke rises into the air as the drone, along with its target, explodes. Russia will try to claim that was just drone debris. Those who have been keeping track of Russia's claims about Ukraine's drones will know differently. It's always debris that causes damage, according to Russia. The reality is that Ukraine's drones stuck their landings and decimated key facilities at a vital Russian chemical plant. Earlier, local residents from Sergiev Posad and Krasnozavodsk told SHOT that at 5 o'clock in the morning they heard sounds of a UAV flying overhead and several powerful explosions, the SHOT channel reported. According to them, the drones were flying quite low, and about 10 explosions were heard in the area of one of the local enterprises. The footage shared by Astra is equally revealing. Drones are heard buzzing in the background, massive explosions are seen, causing plumes of smoke to rise into the air. In several of the videos shared, we see the Ukrainian drones flying low enough to evade Russia's air defenses. All signs are pointing toward this being a successful strike by Ukraine, regardless of Russia's claims to have shot down every drone that Ukraine threw at them. Residents of Krasnozavodsk certainly seem to believe that Ukraine hit its targets. The Krasnozavodsk chemical plant has been attacked, Krasnozavodsk residents write in local chats, Astra reports. What we have here is a tale of two sides. Russia says, as always, that it's destroyed Ukraine's drones before they were able to cause any damage. Ukraine says otherwise, claiming to have scored direct hits on a vital Russian chemical plant. If the footage shot by local residents is to be believed, it seems that Ukraine is telling the truth, while Russia is trying to hide the fact that its spine has been broken. And when we say broken, we really mean it. Euromaidan Press reports that the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant is responsible for producing a lot of the chemicals and explosive materials Russia uses in its missiles and munitions. That alone would make it an important target. The plant also produces signal cartridges, detonators, explosive charges, and a whole host of other military equipment Russia's troops on the ground use to assault Ukraine's defenses. However, it's not this equipment, no matter how important it may be, that's the real headline. Krasnozavodsk chemical plant has also been working on the assembly and upgrading of several of Russia's multiple launch rocket systems, or MLRS, which have been one of the plant's main focuses since 2023. And it's the destruction of this assembly line that's the real reason that Russia's backbone has been broken. Why? Well, we only need to look at the trio of MLRS that Krasnozavodsk chemical plant produced to find the answer. First up is the BM-27 9P140 Uragan 9K57. Designed during the 1970s, the Uragan is a road-mobile MLRS that entered service in 1977 and has been a key part of Russia's ground forces ever since. It's designed to engage group targets, vehicles, and military facilities, and is mobile enough to be able to leave its firing position within 90 seconds of shooting its rockets. Army recognition says these rockets can vary depending on Russia's needs, with the Uragan being capable of firing chemical, high-explosive fragmentation, and scatterable mine submunition warheads. It can hit over a decent range too, with the updated versions of the Uragan able to strike targets up to 25 miles away. The Uragan is loaded with 16 of these rockets, which it can rattle off at a rate of about 1 per second. Reloading takes a little more time. If Russia wants to keep it in position, it can pack 16 more rockets into a spent Uragan in about 20 minutes. Still, despite its age, the Uragan is a powerful and portable weapon. Its vehicle chassis can move at speeds of up to 40 miles per hour and travel for around 350 miles, making it a clear threat on the Ukraine war's front lines. Now, Russia may not be able to build anymore thanks to Ukraine's July 7th strikes. The same goes for the BM-21 Grad 9K51. Another MLRS dating back to the Soviet era, the Grad was designed during the 1960s and entered into service with the old Soviet army in 1963, but don't let its age fool you. The Grad is a useful, suppressive fire weapon that is capable of countering Ukraine's artillery and mortar positions, destroying strongpoints, and tackling groups of enemies on the battlefield. Every Grad contains a pod with 40 launch tubes, each of which fires a 122mm round. It only takes about 6 seconds for the Grad to unleash its full quotient of 40 rockets, after which it requires about 10 minutes to reload. It's less versatile than the Uragan. The Grad can only fire high explosive fragmentation rounds, but that's enough for Russia, especially as the latest generation of these rockets gives the MLRS a range of up to 25 miles. It's also portable. The 6x6 truck that holds the Grad can shift at speeds of up to 49.7 miles per hour over distances of up to 497 miles. We start seeing a pattern with these weapons. Ukraine just used its drones to decimate the production facility for some of Russia's most important road-mobile rocket systems. And that brings us to the Tornado G. The most modern of the MLRS the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant was building for Putin, the Tornado G entered service circa 2013-14, while first deliveries were made in 2011 and is considered to be an upgrade over the Grad. That upgrade is immediately seen in the crew, Army recognition points out, as the Tornado G only needs 3 people to operate rather than the 6 needed for the Grad. Like the Grad, the Tornado G features a pod containing 40 launch tubes capable of firing 122mm rockets. However, the Tornado G is also fitted with an antenna that allows the launcher to connect to Russia's GLONASS satellite navigation system, meaning there's a little more precision involved in a Tornado G launch. The MLRS rockets have a confirmed range of about 18.6 miles, though Russia claims to have developed new rockets that can be fired as far as 56 miles. That hasn't been confirmed yet. What we do know is that the Tornado G shares several other features with the Grad. It's mounted to the same chassis, meaning its road speed and range are the same. It's also designed to take out artillery and mortar batteries, command posts and armored vehicles, along with hitting multiple targets simultaneously thanks to its 40 rockets. Think of it as a Grad on steroids and you get the basic picture. What we have here is a trio of weapons that all serve similar purposes, launching rockets at Ukraine's defense in high volumes, enabling Putin's ground forces to advance. All 3 were produced by the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant, along with a host of components and other equipment that Russian forces need. Now, the production facilities needed to produce these MLRS have been destroyed. Russia's backbone is successfully broken. That brings us to how Ukraine managed to pull all this off. We know the basics. Ukraine sent a small horde of drones to the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant, at least some of which managed to touch down on their targets. However, this attack was unlike any other drone strike Ukraine has carried out inside Russia. Why? Well, it featured a brand new drone. Euromaidan Press reports that most of Ukraine's deep strikes against Russia have been carried out using the Lyuty drones in the past. Those drones are strong, pack a heavy punch, and can travel the distances Ukraine needs them to travel to hit Russia hard. But these weren't the drones Ukraine used on July 7th. Instead, it chose to introduce Putin to a new long-range drone that's even more terrifying than the Lyuty, the FP-1. This drone represents a massive upgrade over anything that Ukraine has deployed in the past. Details come from United 24 Media's report on the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant attack, as it notes the FP-1 has a range of up to 994 miles, meaning it can strike deeper behind enemy lines than almost any drone Ukraine has produced before. It also hits hard. Each FP-1 carries a warhead weighing 265 pounds, which explains the size of the explosions seen in the footage we discussed earlier. Beyond that, the FP-1 shares some similarities with the Lyuty drone. It has the same inverted V-tail design and twin-boom layout, though United 24 notes you can tell them apart because the FP-1 has a narrower fuselage and wider straight wing. That's an important point. If Russia wants to shoot these drones down, it's typically going to try and hit the fuselage due to it being the bulkiest part of the drone. Clipping wings, though possible, is rarely an option. With a narrower fuselage, the FP-1 is harder to hit than the Lyuty, making it an important weapon. The drone also uses a solid fuel booster for launch, rather than taking off using landing gear, meaning Ukraine can deploy it from practically any terrain without needing to have a runway. There's another reason this drone will terrify Putin, and it all comes down to location. We've already mentioned that the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant was in the Moscow Oblast. That isn't the full story. As Defense Express points out, the plant was specifically inside what is known as the Moscow Greater Ring. Not a lot is known about this ring, though there are mentions of it on the Secret Projects Forum that claim the concept for it emerged during the Cold War. During that period, Russia came up with a series of concentric rings surrounding the city of Moscow, with each ring being loaded with air defenses designed to take out any incoming aerial threat against Russia's capital. The Moscow Greater Ring is supposed to be impenetrable. Ukraine just penetrated it. This critical part of Moscow's air defenses has just proven vulnerable to Ukraine's drones for the first time. That will leave Putin asking questions. Were the air defenses in the Moscow Greater Ring not working? It's a possibility. Revisiting the footage we shared earlier shows that there are no noises that sound like air defenses rattling off rounds or missiles in the direction of Ukraine's drones. Putin would be worried about that. A supposedly impenetrable circle becomes a whole lot more vulnerable when the weapons that make it impenetrable aren't firing. But Putin will be asking another question. Has Ukraine just come up with a drone that circumvents the Moscow Greater Ring? Maybe the air defenses were working, but they simply weren't capable of tracking or taking down Ukraine's FP-1 drones, despite what Russia claims. If that's the case, Putin will be even more worried. After all, if Ukraine can use FP-1s to take out a chemical plant protected by Moscow's rings of air defenses, what's to stop it from striking again? Striking deeper? Striking so deep that its drones can hit the very heart of Moscow itself? That will worry Putin. Ukraine has already proven that some of his most vital military infrastructure is no longer safe from its long-range strikes. But Moscow itself? If the Moscow Greater Ring is failing, a whole world of opportunities has opened up for Ukraine and its new FP-1 drones. But that's not the only thing that will worry Putin when it comes to Ukraine's Krasnozavodsk chemical plant attack. He also has to worry about the ammunition gap that Ukraine may have just created by taking out the facility. Beyond the 3 MLRS systems we discussed in detail, the Krasnozavodsk plant was also responsible for building a whole bunch of components and explosives Russia uses in its missiles and artillery. If that's all gone too, Russia is in big trouble. Losing the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant could mean dire things for Russia's weapon manufacturing. GIS reported in June 2024 that Russia had scaled up its internal ammunition production to the point where it was building 22 times more ammunition than it was before Putin launched his invasion. That scaling requires every link in the Russian supply chain, the spine we've already spoken about, to work perfectly. The loss of the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant means that one of these links has been taken out, meaning the entire chain is ruined. Russia will have to adapt. It'll either need to spend weeks, perhaps even months, rebuilding the destroyed facilities while knowing that Ukraine could strike Krasnozavodsk again at any time, or it'll have to build a new plant it hopes is out of the range of Ukraine's drones to keep ammunition flowing to the front lines. Either way, Russia's troops will find themselves running out of rockets and the MLRS it needs to fire them until Putin can fix the country's spine. We also can't ignore that many of the components and explosives the Krasnozavodsk facility created are used in Russia's missiles. Putin needs those missiles. As Russia's ground campaigns falter, he's been relying on them more and more to do damage to Ukraine. On July 5th, Radio Free Europe reported on figures compiled by the Army Conflict Location and Event Data Project, or ACLED. According to those figures, Russia has practically doubled the number of missiles it's firing at Ukraine over the last 6 months. In December 2024, Russia sent 1,269 missiles and drones into Ukraine's skies. The number has been rising ever since. By January, it was 1,718. February brought with it 1,846 missiles and drones, with March seeing Putin's forces fire 2,190 aerial projectiles at Ukraine's cities. The The number hit 2,277 in April and an eye-watering 2,436 in May. It came down in June, though only to 2,110, but it's possible that the June number could be even higher as ACLED only examined data up to June 27th. What we see here is not only a doubling in missile quantity between December and June, but also a 25% increase over the figures from May 2024 and a 16-fold rise in the number of missiles and drones Russia was firing back in June 2024. Russia isn't going to run out of missiles because the Krasny Zavodsk chemical plant was taken out, at least not yet. But losing a plant that builds components for those missiles at a time when it's already struggling to get its hands on those components thanks to Western sanctions is the last thing that Putin wanted. In the space of a couple of hours on July 7th, Russia's leader has lost components, the ability to build MLRS, and the perception that the Moscow Greater Ring was impenetrable. Putin will be asking himself where he goes from here. As for Ukraine, you can bet your bottom dollar that it's already lining up its next target for its new FP-1 drones. And that's not all that Russia's leader has to worry about. Just days before Ukraine hit the Krasny Zavodsk chemical plant, it delivered a twin blow to Russia by attacking a key airfield and one of the country's factories. Find out more in our video covering this 1-2 combo, and remember to subscribe to The Military Show for more videos covering Ukraine's latest strikes against Russia. And thank you for watching.